Hi, lovelies. I'm Queen Lovely. Welcome back to Melanated Crowns. So today I wanted to come on here and talk about this Candiace Dillard, I think that's how you say her name, and Monique Samuel situation. So let me preface this video by saying I do not watch Real Housewives of Potomac. The only episode that I've seen is the episode of this fight that people have literally been talking about from the top of 2020. Literally all year long, this has been a topic of conversations on the blogs, amongst friends, amongst peers. Everybody's been talking about it. I've never watched Real Housewives of Potomac. The only Real Housewives franchise I've ever been invested in was Real Housewives of Atlanta. And outside of that, Married to Medicine, Atlanta, that's it. So I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not invested in neither one of these women or this show. It's been all over my YouTube feed. Before I got off of social media, it was all over my Twitter, all over my Instagram. And I feel like at this point, I could come on in and just give a very level-headed, objective, unbiased opinion, because I'm literally going to go merely off the one episode that I watched and clips of other things and just tell you what I've been able to contextualize from the situation. Before I get into this video, make sure you subscribe to Melanated Crowns. It's all about activating your divine femininity and helping Black women obtain and sustain mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. Please hit that thumbs up and comment below. And if you would like to book your own spiritual advising session or intuitive session after listening to this video, be sure to refer to the link that's in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and supporting. So I want to talk about this situation because first and foremost, it is really interesting to see previous versions of yourself exuded and manifest in other people with a situation that has a reoccurring theme, but differences. And what I mean by that is when I look at like the turmoil and the division that's taking place on YouTube and on social media behind this show, it literally gives me post-traumatic stress from the Nicki versus Cardi B era, when it was at the height, when shoes were being thrown, when all types of fights was taking place and threats and arguing. It takes me back to that because I remember what it was like to be extremely invested in an individual, be a fan of them, really like them, be real passionate about what they stand for, and just before you know it, go down that rabbit hole of I'm going to die on this hill and defend this person and protect that person and so on and so forth. And that's what it appears to be with this situation. And I would like to encourage and suggest that we pay attention to where we put our energy and what we give our energy to, because it is quite alarming that a show that is built on toxicity and negativity, that being a reality television show, is creating this much discord in people's personal lives, to the point where people are saying they wish they never watched the show. The show is really dark. The show makes them depressed. You got these crazy fans and stans harassing and threatening vloggers and reviewers of the show and people that tweet. It's just nasty and disgusting. And quite honestly, it makes me grateful that I've never tuned into the show, because I just been on this journey of divesting. I'm not perfect. I still like a little mess every now and then, as we all do. Balance is key, and moderation as well. But I'm just divesting from having reality television be a big portion of my diet of what I choose to digest on a daily basis when it comes to media, because it really does become draining when you see women who look like you that are 40 plus, 35 plus, acting like teenagers and children. When you get to certain stages in your life when you're evolving and growing, certain things are no longer entertaining. It just becomes sad and you shake your head, because we're all interconnected in a sense. And it's like, if these black women are on television behaving like this, you know, it's kind of representative of the negative stereotypes that already are attached to us. You know what I mean? So I just, you know. But when it comes to this Candiace and Monique situation, the big argument that I see across social media with my favorite vloggers, such as Scotty by Nature, I Love a Beautiful Soul Speaks, Rodney the Voice, you know, James, Colwell, Funky Doniva, you know, the vloggers who review these shows, it appears to be a situation on whether or not Monique was justified in physically violating Candiace because Candiace was verbally violating Monique. So this is my opinion. And mind you, like I said, I don't watch the show, so don't come on here about backstories. I don't give a fuck about none of the backstories, the da-da-da-da. I'm just merely on this isolated situation, okay? I really don't care about this shit, but I just see this as a moment to come on here and give some insight and connect it to real life situations that actually matter. It's never an excuse to physically assault someone or put your hands on someone. It's not. There's a reason why if you put your hands on someone, you can be fined or jailed and so on and so forth. It's a crime to physically assault somebody, okay? In addition to that, outside of, you know, the basis of right and wrong, black and white, we have something called gray areas, okay? And even though I'm never going to outright condone violence, I'm also not going to turn a blind eye and, you know, act sheltered and whatnot and act like I don't know how things can escalate and go left, okay? What happens with these reality television shows is you put a bunch of people who either, one, don't know each other, they know of each other, and they done heard stuff and don't like each other, or they are well acquainted and there's already clicks here and clicks there, and you put them in confined spaces, you add alcohol, you add instigation, you add money, and you add fame, and you get what you get. Now, some people, like Jackie from Married to Medicine, is never gonna let their slip show. They never gonna act a fool. Same thing like a Cynthia Bailey. You know, they may be known as the punks of the shows and the doormats and whatnot, but you just have some people where it's really not in their nature to get crunk to the point where they're going to be throwing glasses and using obscene language and hitting people and doing all types of stuff. And then you have people where it's in their nature. If they feel pushed or violated, their first knee-jerk reaction is to cut you down and be nasty, whether it's verbally or just hit you physically. Okay? And personally, Real Housewives of Potomac, per what people have told me, has become notorious for being like, you know, that show where the girls, they read down. You got to watch Queen Lovely. They be reading down. So first and foremost, you put yourself in a predicament to possibly be on the receiving end of abuse, whether it's financial abuse in a sense where these people have you doing all types of things for you to get your check and stay on the show. Verbal abuse, where you're in controlled settings with people that you usually would not be with. You have alcohol and whatnot, and they cursing you out and doxing you and digging up stuff and all up in your business. And physical abuse, where you have some people that's unpredictable. And yes, it may be wrong if they do hit you, but whether it's wrong or right, you can't control what somebody's going to do. So me personally, as a young woman who's 25, I do my best to be cognizant of the choices I make when it comes to being around people. Case in point, my family just did like a 2-week vacation to Aruba. Okay, they left 3 days before my 25th birthday. And I immediately said I wasn't going when they announced this trip back in July. The reason why I didn't want to go is because I'm just the type of person where, one, I don't like to be in a controlled space. I don't like to be in a confined space. And I don't like to travel in big groups. I did it one time and it was just too much for me. So I immediately was like, I'm not going. I ain't going to try to get the coins together. That's just not my flow. I know my boundaries and I know what works for me and what does not work for me. And what I find with a lot of adults on paper is that a lot of them are still children mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and therefore they have yet to discover their boundaries and set their boundaries and enforce their boundaries. Most children don't know how to do that. But when you are a grown person, you find your voice and you know how to use your voice to set, enforce, and stand firm in boundaries. Okay? So for me, it's like I wouldn't even go on a reality show to begin with, because we don't have so many examples of what comes from a reality show. And if I know that my mouth is crazy, or even if I'm just, sweet as pie, but other people that may be on the casting list are firecrackers, or it's a question mark, you never know what you're going to get with them, I'm going to be like, thanks, but no thanks, because I like to have as much control as God allows me over my internal stratosphere and external stratosphere of peace and awareness and accountability. So when it comes to Monique and Candiace, the thing with that is y'all are at, what was that, like a wine vineyard? The drinks is flowing. Clearly, there was some type of tension between y'all. From the clips that I've seen of Candiace, she has this tendency to be real mouthy, lethal with her mouth. I remember one time I came across some clip on one of these Real Housewives fan pages where I guess somebody raised their voice at her and she just went off, hitting the table, hitting the plate. I think she had a knife in her hand and was like, "You're not going to raise your voice." Like, it was crazy. It was insane. I'm like, what grown woman mentally, emotionally, and spiritually responds to disrespect like that? And this is not a one-time thing with Candiace from the clips that I've seen. This seems to be her MO. She lacks emotional intelligence. She lacks the ability to modulate her tone and to modulate her emotions. She kind of reminds me slick of Simone with that. Simone from Married to Medicine with all that screaming and yelling. It was cute the first season or so, but after that, I was just like, okay, ma'am, you too grown for that. You a mom, you a doctor. Bring it down a few notches. You need to learn how to communicate your wants, your needs, and your problems without being on 20 with the volume. Bring it down to like a 6 or a 5. And with Monique, the situation with her, from what I've seen, she kind of reminded me of like the Quad. And I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't watch the show, but from the clips I've seen, she reminds me of the Quad. Like she ghetto, she don't really fit in, she this, she that, and whatnot. And, she just a little unkempt. I guess that's how you could put it. I don't know too much about the girl. So y'all are standing in each other's faces. Alcohol is flowing. Y'all pointing in each other's faces, talking shit and whatnot. And Monique loses control and she ends up putting her hands on Candiace. Now, I heard there's been some discrepancies about Candiace supposedly did this, or I don't know. I really don't give a fuck. The reality of the situation is Candiace was physically violated in that moment by Monique. It was wrong. It was wrong, period. In addition to that, once again, I can see how that situation went left because of the variables I just said, before that. Like, when you're dealing with adults who are still mentally, emotionally, and spiritually children, that's what you're going to get. Because whatever the problem was, whatever it is, I don't know what it was, Y'all can have some conversations off camera and agree to disagree, agree that we not friends, and then be cordial and go about your business. And this brings me, to the whole situation with the Asian doll and JT and Young Miami, when they was all arguing, and all of a sudden, JT and them was like, I want to fight. And Asian was like, pull up, do this, do that. And you have people saying, oh, now they quiet. Nobody want to pull up. Nobody want to fight. But what happens if they do meet up and fight and somebody brings a weapon and somebody gets seriously injured or gets murdered? Carisha has 2 kids. Okay? So once again, why put yourself in a predicament that can go left in a split second and have your kids be motherless? Same thing with Monique. You're a mom. Why put yourself on TV? And same thing with Candiace and anybody who goes on reality television that's rooted in negativity, and leave your family structure and dynamic vulnerable for people to rip you to shreds and for people to criticize you. And it comes back to that central thing of fame and money having dominion over you as opposed to things of the spiritual realm. You're too caught up in the matrix and too caught up in the physical to see the smoke and mirrors. So that's my opinion on the situation. I just wanted to come on here and talk about that because I just found it very interesting how this television show has unleashed this I don't even know how to say it. It's just unleashed something to the point where I'm looking at grown people, give this so much energy, and it's not positive energy, it's negative energy. And I'm just like, wow. And I think what happens is when we're watching these shows and we get real passionate and whatnot, because I've gotten passionate about some shows and did the back and forth thing as well. There's something about the show that we can relate to. There's something about the show that hits a trigger point to us that's tied into a traumatic experience. And instead of just watching the show for entertainment and going about our business, we become entangled in the show in an emotional way. And granted, the show is doing its job if it got you like that. Additionally, if it got you like that to a point where it's affecting you negatively, you may want to reevaluate what your channel is centered around, or once again, what your diet is about when it comes to what you're digesting. So that is my opinion with the Monique and Candiace situation. I know some people was getting on her for crying, and some people was trying to throw out the whole thing because she's a black woman, she's not allowed to cry. Y'all have to be, I feel like we have to be careful with taking big movements and problems within the black community and attaching it to minuscule shit such as this. This is a reality television show, okay, on Bravo TV. And Bravo TV, such as a VH1, a We TV, and any other channel that does the reality television shows, are all notorious. All the Viacom channels, Oxygen 2, are notorious for creating shows where it's supposed to highlight, oh, this is what it's like to be a doctor and a lawyer, or be the daughter and the son to this hip hop person, or the spouse to this athlete, and then it ends up being a mess. It's the same formula, but a different script. So let's stop taking a serious issue, which is the strong black woman myth, and attaching it to bullshit such as this. It's not about, from what I see, that Candiace is crying. It's the fact that it comes across as a manipulative tactic. You have so much mouth and venom and call people trash, and you cut them with your tongue and you tear them down. But when people give you that same energy, or they reciprocate in a way in which you did not expect it, now you want to cry to get sympathy. And you have people that say, well, she's fighting with words. Monique should have fought with words. And I agree with that. In addition to that, it's a valuable lesson that you can't attack people in one form and then tell them you need to match my energy because you never know who you're messing with. And I've had to learn that the hard way and be humbled. You know, I'm somebody that can be passive aggressive and do little micro aggressive things. I could be honest about that, and that's something I'm working on. But just because I throw a little pebble does not mean that somebody does not have a right to throw a boulder back at me, right? It's complex, and it becomes a gray area because on one end it's like, okay, girl, that's your lesson. You stop doing that passive aggressive shit and doing that micro aggressive shit, because you got some people that's gonna step and be direct. In addition to that, on a grander scale that goes beyond our understanding, that person still has to pay for their actions as well, because your actions was still on the frequency of a low vibration. And that's what Monique is experiencing. So the way in which you handle stuff, she was putting her hands in your face. She was in close proximity with you. You blacked out and you beat her up on national television, right? And you have some people that's like, listen, you telling somebody to drag you and you got all this mouth and there's already all this history and liquors flowing, what you think is going to happen. Okay, that's truth number one. But truths do have a tendency to coexist. And the second truth, in my opinion, that coexists with that is there's repercussions for your actions. And that's what Monique is feeling. So you put your hands on this woman because that's how you deal with things. She threw a little rock and you threw a boulder, but it was still with the intention of negative and low vibrations. So now the universe still has to send that energy back to you that you gave. So that's just something to think about. And Iyanla said it best in her book. Y'all should definitely read Tapping the Power Within, a book for self-empowerment for women. It's an amazing book with so many different things, teaches you how to do your altar, all types of stuff. She talks about like why we should not seek revenge and we should seek forgiveness instead. Like instead of trying to get even with somebody and match them and get revenge, it's better to dwell in that vibration of praying for forgiveness for that person, praying to have a forgiving heart for that person, because that's a positive vibration. It's a higher vibration and you'll receive more good that way. So that's it. I know this video was lengthy. It's been a while since I've done a lengthy video. So Merry Christmas to y'all. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to book a spiritual advising session or intuitive session, information for that will be pinned in the comments. And once again, like I said, I do not watch The Real Housewives of Potomac. This is not a review. This is merely an unbiased, objective, looking in from the outside analysis of the situation. I'm not saying that what I said is gold or is correct or is the sole truth. It's just my perspective. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.